basketball withdrawal. Everyone I talked to said, gee, Friday night, we have nothing to do. We don't know what to do. We have no game to go to. And it is sort of like a withdrawal system kind of thing. And I know I miss it. It was really one of the funnest years I've ever put in with my cheerleaders, and it really extended itself. Maybe we could have basketball go all year long. What do you think, Coach Danny? Yes. Well, I'd like to bring out my cheerleaders. I don't have everybody, but we do have almost everyone. On our varsity squad, we have our captains, and if you want to come on forward now, Jenna and Stacy. Stacy's the first girl, Jenna. Stacy Short, gentle in the mode. Senior member, Jennifer Brodden. My mother had 6 daughters, and I have 2 sons. I have no daughters. And spending my year with these 6 girls made me feel like similar to what my mother might have felt. And I have a real close bond with these girls. And I think that they did a really fine job. Of the 11 girls that started out the season, only 4 of them had cheered before, and 6 of them were brand new. Janet Gilbertson is a brand new girl out on the floor. And can you imagine never cheering before and then ending up your season cheering the field? Talk about a rush. I think that, it was just incredible. I think the girls would like to say a thank you now to everybody. We want to really thank you. You were really good to us. We really appreciate your support, and it really made it a fun year. So our captains would like to say a few words.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the team and the coaches for doing such a great job and for letting us go to state too.
Oh, there's nothing like cheering the field. Really.
We want to thank Mr. Wynn for guiding everyone through this season.
He supplied this beautiful van for us to travel with to the tournament games, and that was just great.
And we'd like to thank our parents for supporting us and for our exercises. And I don't know about anybody else, but I know my dad's been a lot of my exercises. So like whatever.
New Year's up there hiding for a reason.
Joining us next year, I hope that Jan and Tanya will be with us, and I think Jen Fry will be. But we'll be missing, we'll be losing this young lady, we'll be losing this young lady, we'll be losing this young lady. I really wish them well. I think they did real fine for us. 2 years cheerleading, 4 years cheerleading, and 2 years cheerleading. See you next year.
My freshman players about getting a certificate and stuff like that. And I told them this year, I said, I think we will just forego that. The most fun that we had during the year was playing, I think, Mount Orb our second time. They beat us pretty badly the first game of the year. And near the end of the season, we started to gel a little bit. And I knew we were coming from a long ways away. Those of you who were at the first, we had a parents meeting here having to do with the athletic department. And Mr. Wynn said, say a few words. And I said, I'm not really sure how well we're going to do this year, if it's going to come out to be real functional as far as wins and losses go. And I have a lot of kids on the freshman team this year that came a long way as far as just learning a lot about how to work together. And some kids who never come out for basketball before played on the freshman team this year. I'm going to name them off so some of those guys will come down here because I know they're not all here and on our roster. But anyway, we had Josh Litchfield, Brian Marr, Joe Orritt, Jamie Cook, Matt Mazort, James Woodward, Mike Rothy, Joe Himmett, Donnie Foster, Tim Thomas, and Matt Angel. Like I've always said, at the freshman level, what we're trying to accomplish, of course, is to get some groundwork laid. We had a lot of work to do on fundamentals, and night in and night out, we needed to try to take care of some things that we probably should have known how to do already, but part of the learning process, and I'm sure we're going to get some work out of these guys as their 4 years goes along. There's a lot of change that happened. I know the team last year were seniors at our high school when they were freshmen. It was kind of scary the first few weeks I had them in practice, and they matured quite a bit during their freshman and sophomore years, and of course had them in JVs. But I'm expecting these guys to really help the program down the way. Here again, the effort that they saw the varsity kids put out this year as far as playing and the time that they spend in the off season is really going to be important to them. Hopefully they play a lot more this summer down at Wilson Park and wherever they're going to go as far as spending time going to camps and just playing with older children. I think the guys that are juniors and seniors will help them a lot. So I just want to thank you guys for this. I know we have a lot of things to accomplish tonight, so I'm going to make my presentation rather short here as far as discussion. And the last thing I'm going to say is that my mother was up in Appleton in a hospital, and she watched a basketball game, and she didn't know I was going to be on TV, so it was kind of a pleasant surprise for me when she saw the back of my head. She says, "I know that's my son," because he's the only guy who has the head, the back of his head that looks like that. So I just want to thank these guys for asking me to sit on the bench with them. And like I say, I was a celebrity for as long as it took to get Kurt off the floor. Thank you for a good season, and congratulations.
Midway through the season, Chuck says, one of the officials says, "I wish he asked last year." So I said, next time I'd get a bow tie with the Burlington Coat Factory, and he handed myself for $2. So I went and got a black one and a red one. So I got for it for the center game. But look, the guys, varsity guys, all thought it was pretty cool. They made fun of me and they enjoyed it. And threw on them and said, "You guys should get a little class too." Well, I knew I was in trouble with that game, varsity game. Officials come up to me and asked me if I was going to prom later. Well, anyway, then this tie here was a gift. After you get one of the Dells, I said that I didn't know which tie to wear. I was trying to be a joke. A couple days later, I got knocked on my door. It was scary. I said, "Knocks on my door, and what's going to happen?" It was the mayor. Now, really, because I got something for you. So I started to turn around, and I knew he was going to give me. No, it turned out to be this tie. He said, "You want something nice?" I said, "Why don't you wear this in the field house?" Well, I showed it to my wife, says, "You're not leaving this house." Find it. So he said, "Well, if you win Thursday, you can wear it Saturday." So I don't know, and I said, "Okay, I'll wear it Saturday." And I think maybe I jinxed this. I hope I did. But anyway, so I told Jim that I'd wear it tonight if he was going to show up. So he's here. So that's why. Thanks. I like that. Anyway, JV team, the job that I'm to do with them is to get them ready for the varsity competition. Measure success in our team not so much by the wins and losses, but how well each one of the players comes along during the season. And it's a tough job for the freshmen because they're coming into a different system, whether they come from the middle school or from St. Joe's. It's a whole new program. But they try to give everybody an equal chance to prove themselves, to improve, and go on and get some playing time and see what it's like in the big leagues. And with the season we had, I always try and shoot for a 500 season, which would be 10-10 for us. And this year we're one game short of that. We're 9-10, or 9-11. I was very pleased with that. I knew at the beginning of the year that I wouldn't have all the sophomores, and that really doesn't bother me. A lot of people question me, well, how do you feel about that? You know? Hey, they're ready to play varsity level. That's what you know. They're only going to get better if they can play against their competition. So I knew it would be a tough job for some of the kids, but I think they got well adjusted and played very well. Most teams in our conference always all play sophomores anyway. We're one of the few teams that have freshmen on the team. I'm very happy with the way all of our kids played this year. So on. I'll hand out the stats for you guys. I'm going to call the names on down. I want to tell some of you parents, when you do look at, I'd like you to look at these stats and, have your sons explain it to what they are and some of what they mean. These guys are always after me after every game, get these stats done, put them up, so we want to see how they're doing, how they compare with the other teams and with each other. One thing that we try to go for in our goals is to shoot 50% on field goals, 70% from the line, and at least 35% from three-point range. And try and force the other team many turnovers, even though that's not on here. One of the things that I have written down is to take charge. Coach Tank and I really believe in tough defense and sacrifice yourself on the defensive end to help make the offense go. And so that's what's written on here. I have a computer sheet or a computer program. Hand these out to you for freshmen first. Austin Durst. Stay out there. Chad Olson. Jason Tooley. Joel. Matt Brown. Dan Cerruti. Josh Kramer. Ryan Grish. Tate Rule. And Byron Sanderson. And Matt Vanderlip. These gentlemen worked very hard this year. We had some rough times, we had some good times. I want to thank these guys for putting in their time with me. Sometimes I was not the most lovable guy at times, but I feel that they can handle it through me, they can handle just about anything in life. And sometimes I really get on these guys' case and really jump down their backs and get on them hard. But I tell you, I'd be the first one in their corner, anybody get after them or anything. Nothing I wouldn't do for these guys because they put it all on the line for me. Thank you guys for sticking with me and making it a fun season. And your parents too, let me get my job done and pushing the boys and making it a fun season too. This is our JV team, 92-93. Up here, anybody would like to look at it, they can come up. We've got a couple, about 5 or 6. Anybody wants them on, let me know, and I can get you some afterwards later on. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to use the mic. First of all, I noticed everyone has a lot more room to sit than in here than recently. This is the third year I've been coming here and giving this end of the year speech, and I'm sure all of you have noticed big changes in how our seasons have gone and how our kids have played and how well they've played and how hard they've played, and many people have noticed very positive things, but I just want to point out a few little things tonight that maybe people haven't noticed before. 3 years ago, I walked into the gym here and we played the first game. We played Mount Horeb. And the second game we played Mineral Point. And those games got pretty ugly for those of you who were here. We lost by a total of 74 points those first two games. And somebody told me, I think someone, so I was kind of crying at the time, but as I left, as they were leaving the gym, as the fans were filing out, someone overheard someone else saying, well, yeah, same old stuff. And okay, well, that can happen. Many of you probably agree with that, I don't know. But just to tell you how it's changed, in the field house the other week, after Dodgeville had lost, my brother was there, and he lives up in Sheboygan Falls, and he's kind of a smart aleck.
Anyway, he's kind of a smart aleck once in a while, and he was walking out with the Dodgeville people, and he was walking out with his wife, and he was amongst all the Dodgeville people, and he said, well, you know, I think we really could have won tonight if we just would have had a good coach. And he said that, he said it intentionally so that some people would hear him. And he said that about 3 Dodgeville people turned around and they were, like this. And he said, no, I was just kidding. So it's come a long ways in 3 years. You know, speaking of that last game, and I'm sure it's a memorable experience for all of these 9 kids and for myself and for many of you as well. How many of you, by the way, any of you see yourself on TV? Raise your hand if you did. Many of you did. I'm sure that number will grow as the years go on. You know, 5 years from now, there will be thousands of people. Oh yeah, I saw myself. But that's great, you know, if you did. But none of you, I assure you, none of you was made to look like a fool. Except me. You know what's coming, don't you? Sometimes I get a little excited during the game. You know, I don't show it all the time, but sometimes my emotions kind of take over and I get a little bit excited and I get going. And this happens several times to me during the year, but never on statewide TV. I always, whenever I go to a game, I always take 3 pieces of gum along. And in this game, I always make sure I put one in before the game, then I get rid of it at halftime and I put a fresh piece in at halftime. The reason I do that, I guess maybe I should clarify a little bit. The reason I do that is, I remember when I was a player and my coach would be yelling at you in the huddle, and he had the worst breath. So I learned a lesson there. You know, I thought, you know, chew gum. You know, you're getting up in a kid's face. You know, you don't want to have bad breath. So I put this piece of gum in, and wouldn't you know it? Somebody saw this. I knew it. You know, if you don't, go back in your VCR and check it out. I'm yelling something. I don't recall what it was. And boom, there goes my gum out of my mouth. So I'm like, what do I do? You know, what do I do? And not look like a fool. You know, so I think, well, no one sees this. You know, there are only about 10,000 people here, but they're not looking at me. They're looking, you know. So I just kind of go, you know, pick it up. No one's looking. Pop it back in. Who's going to notice that? No one saw it. I didn't think so. Well, all I know is that on Monday, when I was back at school on Monday, nobody talked to me about the game. No kids, you know, a few, you know, and I feel a good try, you worked hard, that was great. Every kid knew that. Every kid in all my classes, and I've got 140 students. All the kids, well, how's that going? You know. Well, anyway, I have many people to thank tonight, and I hope I don't overlook anyone. especially all of you who put signs up, and there might be one or two of you here who didn't. But all of you who put signs up and helped decorate downtown, and all of you who wrote either myself or Coach Hawkinson or any of the kids a special note of thanks or congratulations, and I've received many over the past week or so. I want to thank you people for that. It's greatly appreciated, and many of you people just really went out of your way to get that done. As a matter of fact, I've got one that I'd like to share with you tonight, and it said, "Success comes to people who never stop dreaming, who trust their dreams can come true, who trust their dreams can come true, who use each new chance that each day brings their way." And that's nice, that sounds good, but you know what it was signed? 2 Cuba City fans. So I got a note from people in Cuba City, and at least my wife didn't tell me that she signed that. No, but I also want to thank Coach Craig Chitwood, for a job well done this year, and Coach Scott Hawkinson. He did an excellent job this year, and I appreciate all of his help on the bench. You know, he does a great job working with those JV kids, even if he does get technicals for me. But everybody knows that, right? I mean, you know me, right? Well, am I going to get a technical? It'd just be unbelievable. I would get a technical, and they even said it on the radio, so then it's got to be true, right? But no, anyway, he did a great job, and I thank him for that. I'd like to thank Mr. Wynn and the secretaries for the super job they've done this year. I don't think people realize sometimes what a pain it is with tickets and having people, well, maybe you do realize. Probably better than I do. But just the hassle that they went through organizing this and having people yell and scream at them and saying, "We've been to every game for the last 45 years, and now we can't get a ticket." So they were great about that. I'd also like to thank the cheerleaders and Mrs. Kottmeyer and her art classes. They've just done a super job for us this year, and thank them for their hard work. And they really do a super job, and I really appreciate their work. I'd also like to thank Mr. Clough, and all of the parents who helped with the video work this year. And that list is pretty extensive. And you all did a super job of videotaping. I do all of my stat work for accuracy. I do it all off of the video. And I go over that video and go over it, and many times I have the kids go over it as well. And really, the parents and Mr. Clough this year did a real super job getting that done well. Not done well. I'd also like to thank my wife Becky and my 3 kids for their great support. Sometimes when you live with a coach, it's not easy. And I should tell you, though, one little interesting story about my wife. Before the Evansville game, before the first game of the sectionals, I rarely practice. I rarely go through drills with the kids. And I just feel like I can't coach very well if I'm doing that, if I'm going through the drills in practice. So, but this one night, for some reason, I was feeling a little bit feisty, and I said, well, I'm going to do some, I'm going to, kind of show I'm not 36 years old anymore, so I decided I'm going to get out there and go through drills with these kids. And wouldn't you know, the first drill I'm going through with these kids, I catch a pass and it just goes whack off my finger, and I think I broke or dislocated my finger. First play. I mean, it's hurt, it's just, It's just really, it's swelling up and it's black and blue. And after practice, I go home and I'm just, it's throbbing. And I told my wife, I said, Becky, I think I broke my finger tonight. And what do you think is the first thing she said? Well, it's a good thing it wasn't one of the players. And the same night, this wasn't my night. My son Wes, he's 9 years old. Wes, stand up so they can all see you. My son Wes, he's kind of an artist. He likes to draw a lot and make posters, and he kind of did that all year. And he makes up this big poster, and it says, the 3 best basketball teams. And he puts up there the Duke Blue Devils, the Chicago Bulls, and number 3, the Dodgeville Dodgers. I'm going, well, if you're number 3, those aren't too bad ones to be. But then down below, he writes down Coach of the Year. My chest is starting to stick out. Well, I'm pretty good, I can count on this kid, my son, and I'm feeling good. I got a hurt finger anyway, and he comes up to me and he says, Dad, how do you spell Krzyzewski? So that kind of took me down a little bit. And as long as we're on I could tell kids stories all night here, but I won't. This is just one more. Then I got my youngest daughter. Her name is Ann. She's 3 years old. And I have a little routine with her that whenever I put her to bed at night, one of the last things I always say to her, I say, Annie, you're daddy's girl, aren't you? You're my girl, aren't you? And she invariably says, yes, I'm your girl, Dad. Well, this night she says to me, and I've got a cup at home, with a picture of all the Dodgers on it, and she's always looking at that cup, so she's really gotten to know the kids real well by their faces, and they come over to my house about every other day anyway. So she says, but Daddy, I like Robbie. So I thought Rob's a great guy, he's a good kid. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be number 2, at least, Robbie's a pretty good kid, Is Brooke here tonight? But then, so at least I'm second, and then I said to her, well, Annie, you like me too, don't you? And she said, and I like Brett. Brett and Rob. I don't want to tell jokes all night here. I want to say a few things about our season. And first of all, I think there were several reasons why this year was so special. And we got many. Number one is I think our kids got many monkeys off their backs. There were many. We beat Mineral Point. That was big. We beat Lancaster. And that doesn't sound like much, but after they beat us in the last couple of years at the buzzer or by a couple points, that gets to be important. We beat Cuba City. We won the conference, a co-championship. We won the regional. We won the sectional. And those were all pretty good things for 9 pretty good kids. And it was just such a super experience for those 9 kids to be able to go out and play night after night in front of sold-out gyms. It was just a really beautiful experience. And someone asked me once, are their heads starting to, are they starting to swell somewhat? And I really didn't think so until after one of the last games. I said to Brett, I said, I'm always trying to get kids to come and help me out on Saturday mornings to work with the little kids down at the middle school. And that starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, and usually after a game, they're not real anxious to get up at 8 o'clock and go down there and play. And so I said to Brett, Brett, come on down. And we had just, we were like about 16, 17 and 0 at the time. I said, Brett, come down to the middle school, work with those little kids. I said, you'll be treated like a guy down there with those kids. And you know what he said? He said, Coach, we already are. He's a son. One other kind of neat thing that we noticed throughout the year that was really kind of fun for me, especially, I guess, is just to watch the faces of the fans, and you probably noticed as well. Notice the faces of the fans from the other schools. You know, as we come in and we go out and play and we go through our warm-ups, and we're not a real intimidating bunch of kids. We don't look, we're not going out with our pregame dunk routine, and they'd like to, there are a few kids, but of course it's illegal, to dunk in the warm-ups, and I think we're just about the only school who abides by that rule, if you've noticed, but of course we can't dunk very well. A few of them can. But just the unselfish way that these 9 kids played this year was just beautiful. And many people noticed, even people from other towns, as I said. And I guess you kind of I would have to say it's typified by that last play down at the state tournament. Last play in the tournament, when after Kurt had gotten hurt, Robbie had fouled out, and someone had already checked in for someone else. It might have been Eric, I'm not sure. Had already checked in, so I only had 2 kids left to decide between of whom to go in for Kurt. So I said, Carl, you go in and finish out the last 30 seconds, and Carl as you know, had just a super career here at Dodgeville High School. Scored 1,429 points, very, in all likelihood, a school record. And could have added to it in that last play. Had kind of a semi-breakaway shot there, and he saw his good friend Kevin Borchgate open on the left wing. And Carl took to the basket. I thought for a second there, I thought he was going to try to dunk it. I really did. He had talked for years that he was going to try to do it. And it probably flashed through his mind for a second, but he saw Kevin streaking to the basket there for that last shot. And he got him the ball. Without a moment's hesitancy, he got him the ball, and Kevin scored there in the field house. And I guess that, somebody told me that one of the fans told me that they saw that play, and even though we lost the game, just the total unselfishness that play showed, that play typified. They said that they got tears in their eyes over that last play. And I know myself personally that play just showed what kind of class and pride and courage that those kids had, and that they showed on the court all year. Well, I'd like those 9 kids to come on out now. These 9 kids represent a great thing in the history of Dodgeville High School. They were 92, 93 Small 1 Conference champions, WIA Regional Champion, WIA Sectional Champion. I'll introduce them, and they'll each get their certificate of participation. And then they'll each get a special award
as well. First of all, Brett Bourne. Mark Art. Brad Bourne, who was an all-conference honorable mention. Aaron Olson. He was an all-conference player this year, as well as a Capital Times honorable mention all-area team. Rob Might, all-conference player, as well as Capital Times all-area honorable mention team. These 5 kids are our nucleus for next year. And many people have told me in the past week, you know, we have many young kids coming back, and we should do very well next year. And we'll go back next year. We'll go to state next year too. I hope they're right. But I think there are some things people don't realize, and some kids maybe aren't, sometimes some things maybe our own kids don't realize. First of all, we talk quite a bit to our kids about going to higher levels and taking their game to a higher level. And each kid up here has worked very hard over the years to take their own personal game to a higher level. Many hours, thousands of shots were taken by those kids in order to prepare themselves for what happened this year. I did see one good thing though in this week. Maybe some of you did too. I did see some kids down at Wilson Park with snow shovels. I kind of went, wow, that's really something. They'd be down there wanting to play that badly, and that I think is great. Our seniors, 4 kids who were extremely unselfish this year, worked extremely hard. Kurt Hansen, Kevin Borcherding, Eric Bradley was an all-conference honorable mention player this year. And Carl Cluck. Now let me get some of the things out of that. Carl, all of his accolades, I guess. SWAL 1 Conference Player of the Year. He was all-conference in the SWAL 3 years in a row. He was an honorable mention all-state player this year with scoring 1,429 points, which is very likely a new school record. He made the first team Capital Times all-area team, as well as the Wisconsin State Journal first team all-area team. Well, our special awards tonight . Our captain this year, our honorary captain, we had different captains throughout the year. I felt that our kids, all deserved a shot at it this year. Our honorary captain for this year is Eric Bradley. Our Mr. Rebounder Award, our top rebounder this year, is Rob Might. Our top assist person, our best assist man, goes to Aaron Olson. tough. But this award we give to Brad Bourne.
Better tell him that Hustle Awards for on the basketball court. That's his job.
We have now 4 special awards that I decided to come up with this year, and I'm calling them the 4 Unselfish Awards, because there are 4 non-starters this year who I felt were the key to our team, because I really think that the key to Dodgeville basketball this year was how unselfish our kids were. And you can have talent, you can have size, you can have good players, but if you have too many kids going around saying me, 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 or if you have parents telling their kids me, 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 it can destroy a team. I've seen it happen. But I want to thank you parents for not doing that this year. And I want to thank these 4 kids especially, because they did just such a super job of thinking team all the way through. We had basketball season this year 17 weeks, if you can believe that. 17 weeks. But these kids stuck to it the whole way, were very unselfish the entire way. And those 4 Unselfish Player Awards go to Kevin Borcherding,
Steve.
Mark Hart,
Right in front of Kenny.
and Brett
Send the other
Moore.
battery out. I need the other battery. I'm not going to send the other battery out.
Our last 2 awards are pretty special awards. For most improved, it was pretty tough to decide this year. Matter of fact, I couldn't decide. So I selected a tie. For most improved this year, the awards go to Aaron Olson and Brad Bourne. And our most valuable player, Carl Clough. Before I'm done here, I have a special thing I'd like to. Wally, why don't you come on down? Our bus driver this year was just the best guy, and we want to present him with this Dodger sweatshirt here tonight because he was just such a great guy to be around, and he was so involved.
I don't think you get one of them. Really special to me. He's good to read.
You know, Wally was such a great guy to work with this year, and he just had that same bus ready for us every time, kind of superstition. You know, I'm not a real superstitious guy. About the only, well, I have 2 superstitions regarding basketball. Well, I better not tell you. No, my one is I always, before every game, I always have to eat a tuna fish sandwich and a glass of milk. Every game, I tell you, I'm so sick of tuna fish. Very tired of it. And the other superstition I've got is I've always got to wear the same underwear every game.
You guys give me all
Hey, go watch. But anyway, Wally did just such a great job for us this year, you know, with the bus, and we wanted to present him with that. You could always tell if there was a tight game, Wally got a little nervous.
get up and leave. He was warming up the butt. We won't get into warming up. But he was out there warming up the bus, and he had to listen on the radio.
Let me tell you something about that Banquet. They always played us young stuff. And we got a lot of fussing in that night. And we moved up here because it was on the radio. And the announcer, he was pretty decently close, but God was getting at the time. Bothered me, and he was all for Banquet. That's without a doubt. And they got into the last quarter, and they got to give us all points at the end, and about 15. Got it on 18. And, he said, I don't know what you, I told the player, he said, I don't know what the rest of the people think of Southwest Wisconsin. He said, if you don't come or go somewhere and watch this pod with team plays it, we're going to miss something.
Said I should read this. It says, to Baldy, from the parents, players, and Dodgeville basketball team, we would like to thank you for the safe trips to and from the games this year. It made us rest easier and perform better, knowing we didn't have to worry about the drives. Thanks also for your support. It was very much appreciated. Also, thanks for the meal at Westtown. See you next year. Warm up the bus. From the parents of the Dodgeville. You know, I should also say, about that Westtown bit. We stopped at Westtown to eat. The kids wanted to eat after our game at the state tournament, so they said that we were going to go to Hardee's or somewhere. They said, let's go to the food court at Westtown. And there were many. It was a sea of orange, basically, in the food court there at Westtown. And when we walked in, it was so cool because everyone stood up and cheered for all these kids and us as coaches. I thought that was so great. I said, that's the first time I've been cheering them all.
All the players said that, we wouldn't get that.
Well, I guess I still have these all-conference plaques here yet, and I guess I've already said the all-conference people, but I'll say them again. First team all-conference and player of the year, Carl Clubb. First team all-conference, Aaron Olson. All-conference, Rob White. Last thing I just want to say before I close here tonight is I want to thank these guys so much. They've been the greatest. And for me, it's just been a true joy to coach these 9 kids this year. And it's just been super, and I know they'll be successful in life because they are successful in the classroom, they're successful in school, and they're successful on the court. And I just want to thank you guys for a great year. Forgot that also Coach of the Year in the SWAL 1, Coach Hank. Votes. It's the coaches all vote, so that's pretty special. But no one knows who counted the votes. Thank you.
Our team also wanted to thank Coach Nick, Coach Hawkinson for the great year we got.
Congratulations, Ryan. Very fine year. And on behalf of Williams and Dodgeville, I'd like to present each player with a memory made package, which is 5x7, a single into their own stuff. Also, I'm going to be my 10 for each post. And if you would come down and I can, I've got 8x10, I'm also going to present this.
I didn't dress up quite as nice as Jenny did. I'm damn proud of this. I had a chance to stop by the wrestling appreciation day meeting this morning, and we'll be up for our brew coffee. I just had another little gift I wanted to give tonight. And before I do, I'd like to say how proud I am of the 9 players, and I think the community is. It's just unbelievable what this team has done for our town. People and the excitement, and if Hawk continues just like that, he will have a date for the prom. With that, I'd like to give this to Coach Chuck Tang, in appreciation for the excitement the Dodgers have given our community all year. And he's going to be mayor of the city of Dodgeville, 1993. If you got trouble with the potholes, 3351.
Come down, but Scott did the honors for me. But I do want to say on behalf of the high school and administration and the school board that we're very, very proud of these young men. And I wanted to say to Coach Tank that his award is special. That is voted on by the peers in the SWAL. And it's a very deserving award. And as he said, I think we all know we have 9 young men that have excellent talent. And that talent, in some was God-given, and in some cases was just plain hard work. But also it does take a coach to mold a group of young men like that into a winning ball club. And it's a joy for me as an athletic director to work with Coach Tank. He's an excellent coach, and he's excellent in many, many ways. And if you come down and watch a practice, he's a teacher. He's a teacher down there. And he's an excellent teacher in the classroom. And I just want to say to Coach Tank, congratulations. Your ball club, yourself, and your coaches deserve it.
Say a couple things. One is, I like the 4 seniors to come out here. When these boys, plus some others, were in 7th grade, they were just starting out in the basketball program. And I remember a couple times up there was coaching them, and there was Carl and Ryan Riley, didn't stick it out, but they were scoring most of the points. And I remember a couple times Carl came home and said that coach wouldn't let us shoot tonight at practice when we were having little scrimmages, so that some of the other guys would learn that they had to take the shots when they had them. And now those types of things developed the other boys. Mr. Schwartz worked with these people. And then I can remember when they were freshmen, Mr. Bruno came up to me and he asked, he says, what would you think if Carl played on varsity someday? And I said, well, I want him to play ball. I don't want him to sit on the bench. I said, because he isn't going to develop. And he says, I know that. And I said, well, what are you going to do? Play him with the JV or what? He says, no. He says, I want that group of freshmen to keep the winning attitude that they had, because they went through 7th grade without losing, 8th grade without losing. He says, I want them to keep the winning attitude. So he says, I want Carl to do something a little different. I want him to play as a freshman and on the varsity. And I can remember a good friend of mine who used to be my neighbor when I grew up, Stu Frondor. Some of you know him as the JV coach at Cuba City. We were talking before the game, and he says, how come Carl isn't playing with JV? And I told him, he says, well, that seems odd. And I said, well, Coach Bruno wants to keep a winning attitude with that group of kids. And I think he did. It showed through how they did all year. Man, all year long, one of my little unofficial duties was to put their names up there. So I feel I can give them the names.
Now you can leave.